spend a lot of my time trying to find interesting things for us to turn, and I may have gone a step too far. This very interesting burl I found on eBay came up a few months ago, and I added it to my watch list, and I kept on going back to it, and I kept on going back to it, and eventually I put in an offer for the piece, and the guy accepted it. I'm not sure if I'm happy about that or not, but we've got it now, so we're going to try and do something with it. Now, it's obviously been cut down a long time ago. It does feel like it's had some sort of polish put on it, so I think it's been a display piece as it is for some considerable time. We've even got some mounting screw points on the top and the bottom of this stem, where I'm not sure if they've attached it to a wall or what they've done with it, but it's obviously been pondered over for many years. So anyway, I want to do something with it, but I don't want it to lose the charm it's got. It's obviously been loved for quite a long time in its current state, so I'm just going to try and do the least I can to it to make it into something useful, but without losing the kind of charm it already has. So what I'm thinking of doing is, this is the largest burl area. We've got two main protrusions, one there and one there, and a little bit there. This is the larger of them, so I'm thinking a bowl in this area, and then just purely flatten off the base. Now that all sounds fairly well and good, but next problem is how we're going to mount this. Now, in order to get the bowl out, I need a good grip on there somehow, and I'm thinking of turning it between centres initially and turning a tenon in this area. See how much we can get hold of. It's got a little bit of weight, but most of the weight is in this area. It's not out on these edges, so I'm not too worried about having a lack of balance or anything like that. So I think what I'm going to do is find the top dead center, which is about there, mount it onto the drive spur, bring up tailstock to the side, and then start working this flat and putting a tenon in. Right, I wish me luck. Okay, let's get started. Okay, we're between centres. I've got the stalk, or the branch going through it, kind of at a right angle to the bed of the lathe, so that's hopefully going to balance it and do less risk for my fingers. We've got this protrusion from this burl sticking below where the base is going to be, so that's going to be the first bit we're going to start turning away. Let's just quickly test the balance. I'm going to stand well out of the way, speed down low. Okay, that's not too bad. That's about 500 RPM, 540, something like that. We can live with that. Right, I'll go and sharpen up, and then we'll make a start. Okay, we're all sharpened up. I have no idea what the grain is going to be like inside this burl, so when we start taking the edge off here, hopefully we're going to get a look at it. Get a little bit closer. Okay, alright, face shield on, keeping well to this side. It does feel fairly secure, but I'm not going to take any risks, and we'll just start working away at that node there. My dry spur keeps on spinning on the end because it's not digging into it deep enough, so I'm going to have to put some more pressure on from the tailstock. Try and get it to hold on a bit better, or maybe even better with a worm screw, but I'll keep on with this for a while. We don't have to do an awful lot of turning on this. Okay, we just started to hit the log. Now I've got a bit of rot in here, and it's just kicking off a bit of dust, so I'm just going to put a face mask on as well as my face shield, because I don't know what kind of wood it is and I want to try and keep myself safe. It's destroying a bit of this twig. There's an awful lot of rot in here. But we'll keep on going to see if it improves. We may end up losing. I may like to take off that bit there if it starts to get too bad, because it's not going to be attractive. All right. Biggest worry apart from that at the moment is trying to get enough wood here on the base to create a tenon. Okay, let's keep going. Certainly the most interesting turning experience I've had for a while. That's starting to clear up, which is nice, but it's still, the heartwood seems okay. It's just the edge, there's an awful lot of worm damage to the edge, so I am starting to seriously consider just cutting that off. I'm fairly confident about being able to get a good enough sized tenon. I've got a set of smaller jaws actually already on, the 35mm jaws, which should be fine for that. Right, I'm going to keep on working down until I feel happy that I can start creating a tenon. Okay, right, I'm just going to get a little saw out and just take off an equivalent distance as this goes out on this side, if that makes sense. Okay, that should make life a lot easier. Right, I'm going to start creating the tenon now, I think. I did put a mark on there for the smaller jaws, but I just wanted to see what I can get in there on a larger size, to maybe get in there with my larger jaws, just to help keep things safe. Pretty sure there's enough there to grab hold of. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I want to spend a little bit of time just cleaning up this surface as best I can, and we'll sand that flat, and then we'll turn this around, I think. Before I can turn this around, I am going to have to take down the depth of the tenon a little bit, because it's a little bit too deep for the jaws as it is. So, right, I'm going to start sanding this. I'll let you watch a little bit, but I'll bring you back when it's done. Okay, the sanding was productive, nice and easy. I haven't gone completely over the top yet, because when I turn this round eventually and take off the tenon, I want to do a little bit more work on the sanding on the base, just to make sure it's all perfectly flat. So it's just really for tidying up. The softer bits of wood around here, I've just rounded that up because it was a little bit ugly, and I wanted to just tidy that, make it look a little bit nicer. Right, I'm just going to decrease the depth of this tenon, and then we can turn it around. Okay, right, we'll make do with that. The side of the tenon just flaked off. Luckily no harm done. Right, okay, that's where you always stand to the side when you're not sure. Right, I'm just going to quickly saw off and sand down this last little bit, and then I'll get it turned around and we'll put a bowl in. Okay, we've got it turned around. So this top burl area here is where we're going to make a kind of a bowl out of. I don't want to go too deep, so the edge is probably going to be around there, but I reserve my right to change my mind as we're going through it. Right, leaving the tailstock in for a little bit. I'm fairly sure that the tenon will hold, but until I'm 100% certain, or until I've got no more further choice, it's going to stay there. Just a slight change of plan. I am still going to hold this out, but I think I'm going to start off by going in with a Forstner bit about probably 1.5 inches, just to make things a little bit safer as I'm hollowing out. What I'm worried about is getting too far into the side here, getting too deep, and then having to work this knob around. As soon as you're working and pushing on these edges here, there's a chance of it coming out the jaws. So I'll get the Forstner bit out. I'll just go down and say about 1.5 inches. If this seems to you a little bit like I'm making it up as I'm going along, then well spotted. I am. I've never turned anything quite like this before, so I'm kind of erring on best judgment. Right, okay. That's going to be fine. That's going to give us a nice, useful little bowl. Okay, I'm going to start off with the bowl gouge coming in from the edge. If it's putting too much pressure on the piece, then I'll get one of the hollowing tools out and start working out from the inside out. Hollowing's going beautifully. Get some nice figure on this wood inside, so that's nice. And get some beautiful shavings as well. I'm not going overly quick at this, I'm just taking my time. Nice slow cuts. I tried to pick up the speed a little bit, but it didn't want it, so I have to stay where we are. Okay, hollowing's going beautifully. I'm just going to sharpen up again to try and keep these cuts as clean as I can. But the surface is looking beautiful. We've got rid of the hole we made with the forcing a bit. And I'm just going to decide, do I leave it at that, or do I just widen the edge a little bit? I've got a small bit of tear out, not tear out, just kind of like a chipping there and there, which I wouldn't mind going past. So I think I'll just widen it a little bit. Just drop this down a fraction. Some amazing grain in there. It's like the eye of the storm. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to spend a little bit of time now sanding the bowl area. I'm not going to touch all of this because I can't make it look any better. This has obviously been cut down and held and touched for so many years that it would just be a complete travesty, I suppose, for want of a better word, to touch it. So we'll touch that, we'll finish up the bottom, and that's all we're going to do to it. Okay, sanding went beautifully. There's a bit of worm damage on there, but we can live with that given the piece it is. Now I'm going to go on with an abrasive paste once I've cleaned it off with a bit of isopropyl. I think I'll give the whole piece a bit of a clean off. Okay, just going to go on with a shellac sealer. It's blonde shellac, so it's not going to darken the wood too much. Let's let this dry for a little bit and then I'll put an abrasive paste over the top if I think it needs it. At the moment I'm not sure because that is such an amazingly smooth finish we've managed to get there. That's only 400 grit, but it just feels like 1,000. It's like glass. Okay, I decided not to go on with an abrasive paste because it really doesn't need it. Right, for a polish on top, I'm going to put a hard polish on, and this is one we made up last week. This is number 5 on the list, and it's a carnauba wax, microcrystalline, and a bit of coconut oil, all in a mineral oil wax. This was one of my favourites of the batch we made up last week. I'll buff this in. Right, I'll turn this round in a second and take off the tenon. and sand up the base and give that a bit of a wax as well. Right, this is the jam chuck which I've used on many occasions, but I just need to slightly alter it so it's more in tune with the inner shape of this piece. Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, that should be fine. Now, the idea with the jam chuck, as the name suggests, we hold the piece upside down onto the chuck and put our tailstock back into the original hole and jam those two together. Good. Good tighten, not too much. The neoprene there is just to help save getting any marks on the piece. And now it's nicely in a secure position. I can just whittle down the tenon bit by bit. I'm not going to take it all the way because remember what happened last time. I'm just going to take it enough away so then it's going to be easy for me to try to chisel the remaining bit off or sand it down. A bit nervous, so I'm going to leave it there. Right, I'm going to sand off this base and then we'll bring it back and take a look at what we've done. Well, there we have it. When I first got it, like I said, I looked at it and looked at it for so long, wondering exactly what to do with it. I knew I wanted it to try and give it a use, give it a life, apart from just an object of interest. But I still wanted to keep as much of the natural beauty of this thing as possible. I would have loved to have kept, which side was it? This side. I'd love to have kept the stuff. No, it was this side. I would love to have kept more of the stem, more of the branch this side, but it was really quite rotten, and the cutting of it wasn't going particularly well on the lathe, and I think it would have ended up more problems than it was actually worth. But as it is, it's nicely balanced. It does sit well. And it has a use. It's kind of a nice little coin or key bowl for by the door, and people are just going to want to pick it up and touch it and hold it and look at it. The inside is just so unbelievably smooth. I can't believe that actually is only just 400 grit sanding to, and the grain and the chatoyance of the inside is just absolutely extraordinary. It's a shame we've got a few small insect marks on there, but they're all over this piece, especially on the base. So anyway, there we go. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you have enjoyed it, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe and all that kind of thing. If you leave a comment as well, then you are going to be entered into the giveaway when we get to 20,000 subscribers, which I think is going to probably be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So thank you very much indeed for watching. If you want to see some more photographs, I will put more images on my Instagram and Facebook accounts, which you'll see links for on the site. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I shall see you next time. Thank you.